Okay, let's talk about testing. A/B testing, A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing, so many tests. You've established a program running 20 to 40 A/B tests per month. Most companies are running 2 to 3 tests per month. What's the operational or maybe cultural shift required to go from 3 tests to 40 tests without breaking everything? And honestly, like, why did you do it?
Well, you have to have a certain tech stack to be able to scale testing to that degree. The reason why is because, when you've got traffic coming into your site and then people leave and conversion rate is so low for almost every brand, especially with a higher AUR product, you're literally leaving money on the table. You're just bleeding out money. So if you think about every dollar that you spend to drive people to the site, and if you can even increase their conversion rate by 1%, that's a massive revenue impact on a business that's doing $100 million a year. And so every bit of the experience really counts in terms of, getting that efficiency that you need. And so that's the reason why. So, like 20 to 40 tests is really helping create a strong flywheel effect that will make a huge impact to the business over time. So, that's the impetus on why. But what's super important to be able to accomplish this is having the right tech stack. So, with Shopify specifically, a lot of the CRO tools like Optimizely is a really popular one, don't allow you to have so many tests running at one time. You just start to split the traffic too many ways. You're not getting the confidence and it's not productive. But when you move to a headless environment, which is what I took this particular brand to, is headless, then you can actually start to truly split the traffic and run tests that are outside of like Shopify's black box. Because the headless site essentially sits on top of the Shopify backend. And so that was kind of like the tech stack that allowed me to be able to scale that way. And I had an awesome team who really like turned over every rock and had a lot of curiosity about the product and the human experience, like going throughout the site from checkout or from homepage to purchase. And I think having a team that is really curious, really motivated, is asking questions, and that's not afraid to take chances. Like, what if we did something crazy and remove that to cart button on the listing page, but we did this instead? You have to be willing to take some of those chances to really find meaningful change. But the tech stack really helped enable the scale. So making sure if that's a priority that you have the right ecosystem is important.
Yeah, I love that. Do you mind if we drill down on that flywheel, like what it looks like, right? So you've got the tests, let's say 40 tests ran for a month or a week or however long you determined was the appropriate amount. What does the flywheel look like, right? You probably start to see patterns, and then what do you do with those patterns?
So what was great about this approach is because again it was on this headless environment, we were able to just turn things on and like leave them on. So like the test was already building out the actual execution. And so out of the 40 tests, maybe you have 5 that win. And it would be something like that, which again just shows the importance of scale because if you were doing that same amount of tests over 6 months and you only had 5 winners over 6 months, that's really hard to see a significant difference, especially because some of the tests are going to take you backwards during that time. So failing fast and failing forward is a mantra I generally like, and it works especially well in A/B testing world. So, but that flywheel, when you're like, oh, there's 5 test wins here, we're turning them all on, we're pivoting these 3 tests, and we're shutting off the rest. Like that's basically how it was every sprint. So we would basically take like that's good enough, move forward, and sometimes it was a brand decision. So maybe the test was flat, but you like the experience better. So there were a lot of decisions like that too. But when you start to stack that up month over month, and all of a sudden in 4 months, instead of having maybe one win, you've got 20 or 30, that's meaningful to the customer experience. And so much of it was around product discovery. It's very difficult for consumers to find everything that you offer, especially a company like Alex and Ani, where you have thousands of products. How do you get the customer to the right place? And there were a lot of discovery changes that were built into the testing process. So, how can we introduce the customer to other categories or categories that people also bought from? That was super critical. And also, an overlooked part of retention in general. if you have a customer that buys multiple things from your business, there's a much higher propensity that they'll come back. And some products have a higher repeat rate than others. So maybe they buy earrings more frequently than they buy bracelets. But bracelets is your core product, but they might refresh their earring selection more, for example. A rifle, a really easy one, is like pens, getting pens in front of consumers because that's a high repeat item that they buy over and over again. Not a huge profit driver, but great for getting customers to come back.